When my mom died of breast cancer, I was 8 years old. Everything after that felt like trying to do a group project alone. Except the group was grief, a depressed dad, and two emotionally wrecked grandparents trying their best. Luckily, my mom's parents were the MVPs of that disaster. They practically moved into our home in Nashville to help raise me and keep Dad from emotionally flatlining. The house we lived in, a gorgeous 4-bedroom Southern-style place my grandparents had bought outright in a nice part of town. It was the kind of house with creaky floors, a wraparound porch, and azaleas that somehow always bloomed on cue. We were finally stabilizing until Dad met Jolene. Yeah, Jolene. Not her real name, but it might as well be. All the warning signs were there: blonde extensions, fake laughter, and the emotional depth of a soggy paper towel. They met at some conference in Chicago. He was trying to grow his IT consulting business, and she was apparently organizing networking events or, hunting for her next upgrade. 3 months after meeting, she moved across the country. 6 months in, wedding bells. Red flag parade, anyone? Jolene came with 2 kids in tow. Zach, now 26, a walking Axe body spray ad with the work ethic of a houseplant, and Haley, 22, who was cute and sweet, until her mom slowly turned her into a carbon copy, complete with fake eyelashes and chronic self-absorption. At first, Grandma and Grandpa tried to give Jolene a chance, but I'd catch them whispering in the kitchen, voices low but tight with worry. They didn't trust her, thought she was after Dad's money. And guess what? They were right, but they didn't rock the boat. He finally seems happy again, Grandpa would sigh. Jolene started small, criticizing the furniture, rearranging things without asking, casually suggesting Grandma's decor was a bit 90s. She dropped passive-aggressive comments about modernizing the kitchen, which was just code for erase every trace of your dead wife. By the time I was 12, Jolene had me on housekeeper duty. She disguised it under the noble cause of teaching responsibility, but somehow that responsibility never extended to Zach, who was always training for basketball. He got benched every game. Or Haley, who claimed she was too young, despite being 1 year younger than me. I cooked. I cleaned. I did everyone's laundry. I once had to scrub moldy cheese out of Zach's gym bag while he live-streamed Fortnite upstairs. Meanwhile, Jolene lounged around in her fluffy robe watching reality TV reruns and critiquing my mopping technique. But the big twist? When Grandma passed in 2019 and Grandpa followed 3 months later, they did something I didn't learn about until recently. They had legally transferred the house to me. Yup, my name, my deed, my $1.2 million house. They'd seen the future, and baby, they'd come prepared. Dad knew about it. Apparently, he thought it was not worth bringing up. Jolene didn't know. If she had, she'd have plastered her name across the deed faster than Haley could tag herself at brunch. So here I was, 22 years old, juggling part-time work at Dunkin', online classes, and full-time Cinderella duty. While Zach chased a non-existent career as a Twitch streamer and Haley majored in Starbucks and selfies, I was scrubbing baseboards. Then came the night Jolene strutted into the kitchen in one of her Ross clearance rack power dresses and said, with a smirk, "We need to talk about your living situation." Oh, sweetie, buckle up. I was still holding a wooden spoon, stirring marinara sauce on low heat like it was just another Thursday night, and not the opening scene of a legal drama, when Jolene perched on the kitchen island like a gossiping seagull. She crossed her legs, tilted her head like some suburban villain from a Netflix special, and said, "We just feel like it's time you start contributing. You work now, so $800 a month, plus utilities." My brain had to reboot. Like, fully. You ever hear something so stupid your soul just leaves your body for a bit? That was me, watching myself from above like, "Girl, don't throw the saucepan." Instead, I asked calmly, "And Zach? Haley? Are they paying rent too?" Jolene did that thing where she dabs her lip with a napkin despite not eating anything. She blinked, slow, like she was buffering, and said, "Well, that's different. They're still figuring things out. Zach is focused on his content career, and Haley's in college." Let me pause to explain Zach's career. The man hasn't earned a cent since his graduation party, where I'm 90% sure Dad paid someone off for his diploma. His content? He live streams himself screaming at 12-year-olds on Call of Duty with an audience of 4. Himself, Jolene, and 2 bots. Haley, meanwhile, studies business, but mostly uploads iced coffee photos with long captions about manifestation. And me? I was taking online courses, making minimum wage, cleaning their mess, and somehow now expected to bankroll this clown circus. I asked again, so I pay rent to stay in my childhood home and cook your dinner while your kids contribute nothing? Jolene, whose face was suddenly twitching, either from guilt or Botox, I couldn't tell which, gave some TED talk about building fairness and responsibility. Probably quoted a Facebook meme from her yoga group. That's when something in me snapped. Not loudly. Quietly. Like when you stretch a rubber band a little too far and feel it give before it breaks. I turned off the stove, safety first. Set the spoon down. Wiped my hands on a towel and called everyone into the dining room. Jolene raised her brow. What is this? Oh, just a quick family meeting, I smiled. Figured if we're talking rent, everyone should be in on the conversation. Zach groaning because it interrupted his clan match, and Haley looking like I'd asked her to carry water in a pandemic. But eventually, they shuffled into place, Zach with his Cheeto dust fingers and Haley recording half of it on her phone, probably to caption it, just family things, grinning face with wet dot. Jolene stood up like she was chairing a boardroom. So she began, as I was telling Lucy how. That won't be necessary, I cut in. I've decided I won't be paying rent. Zach snorted. Cool flex, bro, let me guess. TikTok told you rent is oppression or something? I didn't flinch. I'm not paying rent, because this house belongs to me. Silence. Like, movie scene silence. Even the HVAC paused. Zach dropped his fork mid-bite. Spaghetti flopped back onto his plate like it couldn't bear to be part of this moment. Haley's jaw hung open like she'd forgotten how bones worked. But Jolene? Her face froze. You know the loading screen when your computer crashes? That was her. Total glitch. Then chaotic laughter. Jolene shrieked like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Oh, honey, she gasped, wiping non-existent tears. That's adorable. Where did you hear that? Some teen drama. I can back it up, I said, grabbing my phone. But maybe let's call Dad first. She hit speed dial before I finished speaking, clearly thinking he'd come in swinging on her behalf. She put him on speaker, classic Jolene. She lives for an audience. Babe, she said, all sweet and syrupy, Lucy's saying the house is hers. That's not true, right? A pause. A long one. And then, Dad's voice, tired, low. Actually, it's true. My in-laws put the deed in her name before they passed. Boom. I've never seen someone change colors that fast. Red, white, green, then this weird bluish flush I've only ever seen during food poisoning. Jolene's voice cracked. What do you mean they gave her the house? Dad, I didn't think it was important at the time. Zach was no longer smirking. Haley had stopped filming. Jolene slammed the phone on the table, ending the call mid-sentence. Her hands shook. Well, she stammered, this has clearly been a misunderstanding. Of course, you don't have to pay rent, Lucy. But I smiled, calm, collected, steel in my eyes. Oh, we're definitely not forgetting this conversation. In fact, I leaned back, enjoying every second. Let's talk about your living situation. Jolene's face? Priceless. Like someone just told her Botox had expired. And I hadn't even gotten started. I slept like royalty that night. No, seriously, I hadn't slept that hard since before Jolene moved in with her Pinterest quotes and her fake positive vibes only attitude. Have you ever experienced that deep, delicious sleep that only comes from finally standing up for yourself? I woke up still smiling. But of course, peace in that house lasted exactly as long as it took Jolene to brew a fake pot of coffee and throw on her silk robe like she didn't try to evict me 12 hours earlier. She was already in the kitchen, loudly talking to my dad on speakerphone. I hovered outside the door, listening because at this point, trust was out the window and curiosity had rented the room. Mark, she was whisper screeching, you have to talk to her. This isn't healthy. She's clearly acting out. Dad sighed. The man sounded like he aged 10 years overnight. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Maybe push her toward one of those out-of-state colleges she applied to? Encourage her to spread her wings or whatever. Make her leave for her own good. I hit record on my phone so fast. Apple should have paid me for the speed test. She continued, all sugar and gaslight. She's young, impressionable. And honestly, I'm worried about her mental health. The anger, it's not normal. My mental health? Lady, the only thing making me consider therapy is the fact I've been living with you, your gamer son, and your bootleg Kardashian daughter for a decade. Then I heard the one thing I didn't expect. Dad said, maybe you're right. I'll talk to her. That one hit. After everything I'd done, the cooking, the cleaning, the loyalty, the man who held me as a baby was now helping his second wife try to kick me out of my own house. So I did what any mature, responsible adult would do. I walked into the kitchen with a smile like I hadn't just heard them plotting my banishment. "Morning," I chirped. Jolene jumped like I was a ghost. She scrambled to end the call, fumbling with the world's best mom mug like it was her Oscar. She gave me a fake little smile. "Good morning, sweetie. I made coffee." "Yeah." She put a K-cup in the Keurig I bought, with the tip money I earned while she laid around watching reruns of Selling Sunset. Zach wandered in behind me, looking like he hadn't slept since Fortnite was invented, followed by Haley, fully dressed, fully contoured, and already filtering her morning on Snapchat. We sat at the table, them scrolling, me sipping, and the tension was so thick I swear you could butter it and serve it with toast. "Hey, Jolene," I said brightly, "been thinking about our little rent chat." She perked up. That hopeful glint in her told me she thought I'd changed my mind. "Oh, baby. You're totally right," I continued. "Everyone should pay rent. It's only fair." Zach looked up from his cereal. Haley paused her boomerang. Jolene looked like she was about to cry with relief. So, I went on, based on the market average in our area, $1,200 per person seems reasonable. That's $3,600 total for you three, not including utilities. And I'll need a security deposit. The silence was immaculate. Zach actually choked on his off-brand Frosted Flakes. Milk sprayed across the table. Haley gasped and dropped her avocado toast face down on her $90 crop top. And Jolene? She turned a color I can only describe as expired shrimp. "You can't be serious," she snapped, slamming her mug down. "Oh, I'm dead serious," I said, pulling out my phone. And since we're all being transparent, click. I played the recording of her earlier phone call, right there at the table. That sweet, syrupy voice of hers filled the room. "Mark, you have to do something. Maybe one of those out-of-state colleges." Zach and Haley looked like kids who just watched Santa Claus punch a mall cop. Jolene's face twitched like the Botox was trying to make a break for it. "You recorded me?" she shrieked. "I live in Tennessee," I said cheerfully. "One-party consent. Also, my house, my rules." Jolene bolted from the table, pacing in her cheap fuzzy slippers and muttering something about calling her lawyer cousin, the same one who once failed the bar exam and now handles DUIs at a strip mall office next to a vape shop. Meanwhile, Zach was stammering. "I'm not paying rent. I'm about to blow up on Twitch." Narrator voice, I muttered. "He did not blow up on Twitch." Haley hissed, "You can't do this. My dad loves us more than he loves that stupid house." I shrugged. "Funny. I love this house more than I love freeloaders." By now, Jolene had pulled out her phone and was dialing Dad again, probably thinking he'd back her up like he always had. But she didn't know I'd already sent him the recording, and the screenshots, and the legal documents. Dad answered. She put him on speaker, voice trembling. "Mark, your daughter is blackmailing me. You need to come fix this." Dad took a breath. Then, slowly, carefully, "Tracy, maybe it's time we start looking for a new place." Boom. Mic drop. Explosions. Zach looked like his spirit had left his body. Haley had her hands over her mouth. Jolene's face? Pure betrayal. She stared at the phone, speechless, then turned to me like she was ready to throw hands. "You listen here, you little..." I cut her off, calm as ever. "Careful what you say next. I'm still recording." Let's just say that ended breakfast. After the breakfast smackdown and Dad's surprise betrayal of Team Jolene, the house fell into a weird silence. Like sitcom credits roll silence. But the kind right before someone throws a chair. I started using that piece productively. Took long baths. Read in the living room. Lit a lavender candle in Jolene's meditation corner, which was really just a beanbag and a framed Live Laugh Love poster. The vibe? Absolutely thriving. But I knew Jolene. Her silence didn't mean surrender. It meant plotting. Sure enough, 2 days later, I caught her in the act. I walked into the living room and found her halfway through stealing one of my mom's necklaces. She was crouched in front of the old glass cabinet, clutching a velvet case like she was auditioning for a role in Real Housewives of Petty Theft. And of course, she had her giant faux leather tote, still tagged, wide open beside her. "Hey," I said, deadpan. She gasped and spun around like I'd caught her stealing a baby. I was just organizing," she stammered. "These things need cleaning." "Funny," I said, pointing to the bookshelf corner. "The camera says otherwise." "Yep. I'd installed discreet home security cameras right after her rent stunt. Advice courtesy of Reddit and a very enthusiastic lawyer. And speaking of lawyers, earlier that morning, I had already met with one. Not a DUI cousin. A real estate lawyer who practically fist-bumped me after seeing the house trust paperwork from my grandparents. According to him, the deed was airtight, the house 100% mine, and nothing short of divine intervention could save Jolene now. So we filed formal eviction paperwork for Jolene, Zach, and Haley. All separate, all legit, all blessed by the courts. The next day, I was sipping coffee in my robe when a process server knocked on the door. I let him in, offered him a muffin, and watched him serve Jolene in the kitchen. She opened the envelope, scanned the top page, and turned pale. You're evicting us? No, I said with a smile. The courts are. I'm just the homeowner. Zach came downstairs mid-scene, holding his controller like it could shield him from reality. Yo, what's going on? Pack your things, I told him. Twitch stream from your new room, wherever that ends up being. Haley appeared next, full mascara and confusion. Is this a joke? Nope, I said. But go ahead, post it. Maybe it'll go viral. Then came the meltdown. Jolene started pacing, ranting about how I was tearing this family apart, how I was ungrateful, and how she'd sacrificed everything. You're acting crazy, she snapped. No, I replied. I'm acting like a landlord. Zach slammed his controller on the table. Haley started fake crying about losing her TikTok filming wall. And Jolene? She whipped out her phone and called Dad, on speaker, of course. Mark, she barked. Your daughter is evicting us. Do something. Dad sighed like he'd just aged 20 years. Maybe it's for the best, Tracy. And just like that, the room went dead silent again. Only this time, I didn't mind it one bit. With the eviction clock ticking, the tension in the house was next-level awkward. Jolene stopped speaking to me entirely, unless you count the passive-aggressive note she left on the fridge. Don't touch my almond milk. I drank it. All of it. Zach stomped around like a child whose Minecraft server got deleted, and Haley, she cried. A lot. Loudly. While journaling in her fake Louis Vuitton planner. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared them for moving day. I hired professionals. Big dudes with steel-toed boots and zero interest in family drama. They showed up exactly on schedule, just as Jolene was mid-speech about choosing to leave with dignity. Timing? Impeccable. She stood in the foyer, dressed in her finest fake Chanel suit, with mismatched buttons, giving this dramatic farewell like she was boarding the Titanic. I am leaving, she declared, because I will not live under such negativity. Some of us have class. Right then, one of the movers walked past carrying a box labeled Zach's gaming setup and asked, Where do the towels go? Jolene blinked. You're early. Nope. Right on time, I said, sipping coffee like a villain in leggings. Her dramatic exit speech fell apart fast. Haley shrieked when they unplugged her ring light. Zach begged them not to touch his Xbox, yelling, There are wiring systems involved. Then came the labels. As the movers packed up Jolene's prized designer collection, they noticed something hilarious. Half the labels were crooked. Some still had Ross stickers underneath. One bag even had the wrong logo. It was brutal. At one point, Jolene tried to grab my mom's antique bowl off a side table, yelling, This has sentimental value to me. You tried to throw that away last year, I said, deadpan. She fumed. You can't prove that. I gestured to the camera in the corner. Wanna bet? And still, she wasn't done. 30 minutes in, she tried to sneak out with a box labeled miscellaneous holiday stuff. I opened it. 3 of my mom's necklaces, my grandmother's china set, and the good French press I bought with my tips. Classy. She went full soap opera. You're making a huge mistake. Your father will never forgive you. Funny. Because Dad had texted me 10 minutes earlier, if she tries to take anything, call the cops. I'm done. So I did just that. The officer showed up within the hour. A calm older woman with no patience for BS. Jolene tried to fake cry, even dabbed her dry eyes with a tissue like she was on The Bachelor. The cop? Not impressed. You're attempting to take items that legally belong to her, she said flatly. I'd advise you not to push your luck. Zach backed away like the bowl might explode. Haley slinked off, probably tweeting something like, When your haters steal your joy, broken heart. And Jolene? She tried one last look of righteous fury. You'll regret this, she hissed. I smiled sweetly. Already don't. Jolene didn't just leave. She performed her exit like it was a Broadway audition, minus the talent. The day before the final eviction deadline, She waltzed into the kitchen in her fake Chanel knockoff, the same one movers already mocked, called a family meeting, and stood in front of a stack of half-labeled boxes like some tragic aristocrat. She cleared her throat. I've decided to leave with grace. Because this house? It's beneath me anyway. Cue Haley sighing dramatically like she was in a student film. Zach stood by the fridge, arms crossed, still sulking like his gaming setup was kidnapped. Jolene launched into a full monologue about new beginnings, manifesting peace, and upgrading her life, ending with a smug little smirk and, "Your father and I have bought a gorgeous house in Florida. Tampa. Private neighborhood." I raised a brow. "Did you buy it before or after your GoFundMe raised $43? She froze. "Yeah, I'd seen the link. Family in crisis, help us move." The description claimed her evil stepdaughter had blindsided her. Most of the donations were from her MLM friends. One person just commented, "Girl, this ain't it." But before she could even react, the doorbell rang. I opened it with a grin. The movers were back. Mike, my favorite one, walked in holding a clipboard. "You ready?" "I am," I said, stepping aside so they could begin packing the last few boxes into a storage unit across town, the one Jolene couldn't afford unless she returned those fake Fendi slides. She snapped, "You said we had until tomorrow." "I'm not ready." Mike shrugged. "We were told to clear it today. If you've got a problem, take it up with the court." Zach panicked and started yanking wires from his monitor like it was a hostage rescue. Haley wailed when they removed her TikTok backdrop. Jolene tried to cling to a side table, declaring this was a family heirloom. "Nope," I said, "that's from IKEA. I have the receipt." That's when things really got funny. As movers boxed up her designer items, they noticed a bunch of tags falling off. One bag had a duct-taped Gucci logo. Another had a zipper that broke mid-lift. Even her vintage perfume tray had a $12.99 Marshall's sticker on the bottom. Meanwhile, I was curled up on the couch sipping fresh ground coffee from the French press she tried to steal, watching the show unfold like it was my personal Super Bowl. Jolene tried one last Hail Mary. She marched over to me, eyes wide with rage, and hissed, "You think you've won? You're a child playing pretend. This was my home. You can't just erase us." "Funny," I replied. "I thought you said this house was beneath you." Then came the official walkthrough with the sheriff's deputy. Routine procedure. But watching Jolene pretend to act dignified as she explained away scratches on furniture she ruined? Chef's kiss. She tried accusing me of damaging her stuff during the move. The deputy looked at the security cam footage and said, "You sure you want to file a false report?" She went quiet. Fast. And just like that, they were gone. Jolene moved in with her sister in a cramped two-bedroom in the next town. A week later, her sister posted a Facebook status about guests who don't do dishes or buy toilet paper. The subtweet heard round the suburbs. Zach sold his gaming gear to cover a deposit on a sketchy roommate situation. He now works at GameStop and posts motivational quotes about hustle culture. Haley tried moving in with her sorority sisters. Lasted 6 days. Now she commutes 2 hours to campus from her aunt's house and posts TikToks about being humbled while getting roasted in the comments. Dad still checks in. Says he's tired. Says Tracy wasn't who he thought she was. No kidding. As for me, the house is quiet now. Peaceful. No fake perfume clouds. No screeching about the dishwasher. Zach's old room is my new office. Haley's walk-in selfie closet? My personal reading nook. Jolene's meditation space is now a yoga studio with actual incense and zero nonsense. Mom's friend Elise moved into the spare room. She's been teaching me Mom's recipes. We make dinner together on Sundays. She brought back warmth that had been missing for years. And sometimes, I still sit on the porch with a coffee and think. They wanted me gone, but I stayed. They underestimated me, and I won. Not out of cruelty, not for revenge, but because this was always my home. And now, it finally feels like it.